What do you think? Do you think it was worth the wait? I mean, what are your thoughts on 18.2 in the state of Apple intelligence right now?
In the state of Apple intelligence, for I guess for some context, I use ChatGPT a decent amount now. I feel like I've been using it more and more. So for me, the Apple intelligence side of it, just the integration of ChatGPT, I think is the best part. Image playgrounds, Genmoji, fun stuff, I guess. But the most useful one is definitely all the ChatGPT integration, both on the writing tools and then just with like talking to Siri. Siri is now smarter because of ChatGPT, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah,
Siri is way smarter now because of chat. I
for
think that's
sure.
the biggest upgrade technically. Like just
Mm-hmm.
besides everything ChatGPT brings to the table, just on its standing on its own. Like
Yeah.
now interacting with Siri gives you just a way more capable assistant that can answer questions and do things that Siri could never have dreamed of doing before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah,
that right there is what is the biggest. Like Siri's actually smart now.
yeah. Which I mean, when did Siri come out? Like iOS 4?
It was with
Am I
the
making that?
iPhone 4S.
So maybe
So,
maybe iOS 7 is in my mind. Which one is it? I still remember the first like the UI and the animation
yeah.
because it was pre the change. Like they were still using those anamorphic designs or skeuomorphic designs. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of funny looking. But yeah, no, Siri smarter. Finally, I could kind of level it or get it kind of on the same pedestal as the Google assistants and the Alexa assistants because like Siri is always dragging behind. But funny enough, in the video that I made, I asked Siri who was older, LeBron James or Dwayne Wade, and somebody in the comments noticed that it answered it incorrectly. So I thought that was funny.
Hmm. And that was ChatGPT, or
Yeah, that was it got sent to ChatGPT. It was one of those like, oh, send it to
interesting.
ChatGPT. Yeah. It gave like it said like, oh, LeBron was born this day, D Wade was born this day, like the correct dates, but it still said that LeBron was older than Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that's
I
why
think
always double check your work.
yeah, for sure. That's the thing
Yeah.
with these things. I don't really want to go down this rabbit hole because I was just thinking, like, I think about this all the time actually with the whole generative AI. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is there a point we're going to get, and we don't have to answer this, but it's just something I think about. Is there a point we're going to get where the data is corrupted? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the data is just not reliable. What it's being trained on or whatever, like, there's some sort of corruption that occurs,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't really trust it at all.
For
I was
sure.
just thinking about that. It was like, it almost seems like a house of cards a little bit, but maybe
Yep.
I'm thinking about this
No,
wrong.
no, no. I mean, I agree with you because obviously it's scraping the internet for all the answers, and who's to say? I mean, there's a lot of mess on the internet. People talking stuff that they think is true and it's not true, and vice versa. So I don't know. There's going to be some sort of checks and balances, but then who's checking the AI? Is the AI checking itself, and how is it checking itself? And then who's going to help it check itself? You know. So that's why I always go back to I don't know if people remember back in the day in your math classes to show your work, always
Oh yeah,
check your work. Like it's just reminded me of that. Every single time I use ChatGPT for any instance, I'm always just like double checking because
yeah,
I need to, you know.
because you don't want to be wrong about some fact, or
Hmm.
especially if you're writing about it or you're doing a video on it. You don't.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to do is be wrong about that sort of thing. So I get it. Here's the thing I like about the ChatGPT integration with the writing tools.
Hmm.
Like for instance, you have a whole list of numbers. You can do like really practical things, like say, hey, reorder this list into
Yeah.
ascending order or make it alphabetical, or just do things, manipulate textual data right there within notes, which
Yep.
is pretty handy that I
So
found.
handy. No, yeah, there was that example. I think I mentioned it like a month ago or something, where even with timestamps on on YouTube videos, I had to like input a sponsored integration into it, and I already had all the timestamps, and I was like, all right, add 1 minute and 1 second to each one of these timestamps, and it just like spat it out perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to like me like mentally doing the math and changing it and wasting time doing that. So like practical things like that, very very useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Now, as far as the Genmoji, well, let's talk about Genmoji for a second.
Hmm.
What is your thoughts on that? I kind of like it. I think it's fun. I
Yeah.
like coming up with the new emoji, especially when you're having a conversation with someone, you want something specialized pertaining to that conversation. it's kind of nice, right?
Yeah.
Like someone was sick the other day, and I made some new like I guess it was a sticker, but it was like a little bear with a stethoscope around them, and
Oh, that's cool.
it was just kind of cute. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that sort of thing is nice to have. It's
No, for sure.
not going to change the game or any sort of thing like that, but it's fun, I guess.
But I could definitely see myself using. Well, I'm already seeing myself using Genmoji more so than the image playgrounds. Like the same aspect where my daughter woke up super early and I was supposed to go hang out with a buddy and I was texting him and there was no like sleepy red eye emoji, so I just described it like super sleepy with bloodshot eyes, and it just like and it made it. I didn't say. I don't think I used the word bloodshot because who knows what would have came up.
Who knows?
Yeah, but like those little instances for sure, it definitely helps out. And then I've also noticed with the Genmojis that they work best or they're the most quote unquote accurate is when there's emojis that already exist
Yeah.
and you just want to combine them.
Yeah,
Or get
for
two
sure.
or three of them and combine them. It's just much easier for it to think of it what you want. So definitely a more personal use case, but it's there.
Yeah, I could see myself using that pretty often, honestly, just because
Yeah.
I like having like a customized emoji based on the conversation's context. I think it's fun. But
Sure.
useful, I wouldn't say like super useful, but fun more than that. Image Playgrounds is to a much lesser degree useful to me. Like, it's cool, but I don't really see myself using that often at all. There's not enough options. Like, there's all the little suggestions and little things you can use to combine, but like, it's pretty restrictive as far as what you can actually make with it.
Yeah.
So it would be cooler if there was like, obviously there has to be some sort of checks and balances there because people would go crazy. But
sure.
I think that it's a little restrictive at this point as far as what you can make.
Yeah.
It's not like, what is that thing? Is it Dolly? The thing where you
Yeah.
can create like just images. You can just say it text and it'll spit out
For the
whatever.
most part, do it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this
Dolly.
is not like that.
No, Apple's definitely they're
Appleized
definitely
it.
being very, very conservative with what you're allowed to do. And for good reason. Like the last thing they want is for some craziness to be created and then people say
Yeah.
like this was created on an Apple device and then get bad publicity.
Yeah.
So I can see why they're being very careful with it. And that's just what it is. It's very like there's a reason why they gave us so many like predetermined options, like the styles and the criteria that they created because they want you to probably stick to those to make them playful. Again, you can kind of go a little crazy if you want to, but there isn't much that can happen. And then even when you try to once you start adding like a fourth or fifth kind of option in there, the difference is diminishing returns, basically,
Yeah.
on what you get.
For sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. So here's my question. So we
Yeah.
talked about the 18.2 stuff, and I mean, there's tons of additional things in 18.2 as well, like that's not related to AI. But if you want to check that out, we have two videos posted about that. One for iPad OS, one for iOS. What is something that is unique to iPad OS that you appreciated about 18.2, or is there anything that really stood out to you?
I don't think there's anything unique to iPadOS because originally I thought Magic Wand was only going to be on iPadOS, but it's an iOS. It's there.
Yeah.
So there really isn't anything that iOS has or the iPadOS has that iOS doesn't have. Versus like the other way around, like have visual intelligence I think is cool on iOS. Like I wish iPadOS had some sort of version of that.
That brings up a good point. We didn't talk about visual intelligence, and you actually made a video on that, I believe. But I mean,
Yeah,
what
back
is?
when it was in beta?
Yeah, what is? I mean, is it? Because this only works with the iPhone 16, right? Like, because
Yeah,
it has the
only.
camera control button.
Yeah.
But do you think that's right? Do you think that's? I mean, why?
They definitely could have brought it even to the 15 lineup with the action button, the 15 Pros at least. And even there's kind of a sort of a workaround on other AI enabled devices, but only on the ChatGPT front. So to break it down, visual intelligence, you take a picture of what you see, and then you have two main options. It's ask GPT about it, and ChatGPT will like describe what it sees basically. And the second option is a reverse Google image search, so you can find whatever you're looking for on the internet. So the GPT version of it, you can kind of sort of like take a picture with your iPad and then ask Siri what it sees, and it'll upload that image to ChatGPT. So that's the kind of sort of workaround. But I'm kind of, I don't know why they didn't add that everywhere. Like if you have an Apple Intelligence supported device, I think the visual intelligence features, maybe they don't call it that, but I think those features should be across all the devices. Like there's already enough differentiation. Like I feel like they just keep breaking the features and making it more and more complicated on like what each one of these pieces of hardware can do with the software.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's yeah, like that's one thing Apple's always been really good at is not fragmenting their stuff, right? And that's something that Android devices have always been like about fragmentation and various different hardware and OS and features and all that. But Apple has always been really good at the lack of fragmentation, but I feel like more and more they're starting to become a little bit more fragmented as far as features are concerned and their OS. So, in my opinion, I mean, there's really nothing there that is preventing this from being a feature on, especially like the iPhone 15 Pro.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason why that. There's just no reason why they shouldn't be there. But maybe, I mean, they're the creators, they're the developers, they're the engineers behind this. So maybe there's something that we haven't considered. So we'll just give them the benefit of the doubt there. But I will say that I don't really use visual intelligence much. Do you?
No. I did use it in a real world setting this weekend. My parents like picked up some random, they like helped somebody move out, and the person that they helped move out just gave them like these industrial microwaves or something, or like these industrial like convention ovens that they had. I don't know why they had it. So I just pulled it up. I pulled visual intelligence up to see how much they're worth with the reverse Google image search, and it worked. It worked exactly how it was supposed to. I was able to pull it up on Amazon or pull it up on Crate and Barrel, and it was like a $600 like Viking convention oven. And my dad's like, I'm gonna flip that on Facebook Marketplace.
How many did you get? 2 of them?
Yeah, you got 2 of them.
Oh, nice.
Right? So he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna flip this thing. I was like, for sure, because this looks crazy to have in just like your regular kitchen. He's about to open like a Subway, you know?
So it came. So you used the reverse Google search, right?
Yeah, I used that aspect, and I was like, "Oh, this is a perfect opportunity to try this out." But then again, my brother has a 15 Pro Max, and he couldn't do it, even though he does have Apple Intelligence on that phone. You know?
He could just open up the Google app.
He could do it that way.
It's just that's the thing. It's like I mean, there's workarounds to these things. Like you could get those features, but it's just like the convenience factor. Like there's like a barrier there. So I mean, he could do the exact same thing that you just did, just not through
pressing
the native
special button.
Yeah, the special button. I still haven't used visual intelligence out in the real world yet. I just don't even think about it. I don't really think about my camera control button that much, and I just feel like I need to kind of take advantage of that more. Action button's the same way though. Like I guess I'm just old school. Yeah, just old school. Like old school iPhone user, you're not used to all these extra buttons and stuff. So I don't know.
Funny enough, thinking about because the camera control button, I use it as just my camera shortcut, like to get me to the camera app. Mm-hmm. Like I've completely replaced the little camera on the lock screen shortcut.
Okay.
And so I pulled out my 13 mini literally 10 minutes ago, and as I pulled it, I reached for a camera control button, and I was like, "Oh, that's the first time that's happened to me." I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm getting used to it."
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
But outside of that, that's the only reason why I use that button. And then the action button. In 2 years or a year and a half of having these action buttons, I've never actually used it.
You only used it for making your video, right?
Literally, to show off what you could do. And then I have it right now mapped to call my wife. That's all it does.
That's a good action button.
That's a good one.
Well,
right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, there are other things in 18.2, like we were saying. So Safari got a pretty sizable update. So there's a few things I wanted to mention. You have a new live activity for downloads, which is kind of obvious, like an obvious improvement. So that's nice. You have the ability to make it so you didn't. Safari does not ask you to say passwords when logging in, so you can do that globally if you want to. You can now import and export Safari history and website data, which is nice. Which is I went in depth with that on our video, and it's pretty cool the way they break that down. So that's nice. And then this is interesting. There's HTTPS priority upgrades for URLs that do not support HTTPS. So basically, websites that aren't using security, like TLS security, SSL, or certificates, these are forced upgrades to HTTPS, which will result in a more secure connection. There's very few websites I would imagine that are like you would normally visit day to day that don't use HTTPS. But there are a few actually. It took me a while to find one that I could use to demonstrate this, but I did find one, was able to demonstrate it. And it looks like it's the Safari upgrade. It's not a WebKit engine upgrade. So like I tried comparing this with Safari, and then I used Chrome on iOS. Chrome didn't work. It still showed the website as insecure, whereas it did show it was secure on Safari. So it's like a Safari feature, which is nice.
That's cool. Yeah. So it's just like layers that security over just to protect the end user.
Yeah, cool. I mean that's basically. I mean, there's not a lot of details on it, but that's what it seems like. That's the way it works. So yeah, so that's Safari. Then there was some obviously mail updates. You get the new categorization, and then the digest view for your email. Which
do you like it? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I don't think I do. Like I'm just like, but again, I'm just old school, man. I'm starting to realize that more and more. Like it's just like. I don't like change as much as I used to. Yeah. Like, which is not a good thing, right? I need to kind of change my thoughts. I guess for email, I'm weird anyway because I don't really like email. To me is more of an inconvenience, or it's just a means to an end. Like I'm not really.
I'm not a fan of email. I'm not a fan of email either.
Not really.
No, I get it. Yeah. No, and to go back to that whole like change thing, like remember when Safari by default moved the address bar to the bottom? God,
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you did? I like that. Yeah.
I immediately moved it back up, and it stayed like that in all my devices.
Oh really? Wow. Yeah. You still like that?
I still have it on the top. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Now
I don't know why I don't like it, but when it was there, I was just like it threw me off, and I was like, I don't like this. There's too much space on the top. I don't know, like, and then I just moved it back up, and I never looked back.
Oh wow. Yeah.
See, so you like change for the better sometimes.
Hey,
I guess we're stuck in our own ways in different ways.
Hey, man, you need to change that. Like seriously, like I'm telling you, I was kind of the same way, but it is objectively better.
I guess because it's for reachability. Is that why?
Well, yeah, that is the main reason. Like because you can do so much with the address bar, right? Like the address bar is everything for Safari, and it's like to having it right there by your thumb just makes so much more sense. I'm telling you, if you do it for a week, I guarantee you will not go back. Okay.
Maybe that'll be my experiment this holiday season. I'll just change it to go back down and then see if I'm used to it by the end of it.
Yeah, it's I definitely think you would benefit from that for sure.
Okay.
So there are a couple other things. Well, let's just briefly talk about photos, and then we'll move on because, we could talk about 18.2 forever. So there's tons of well, not tons, but photos and camera. So you obviously have the camera control button. You get the new dual stage shutter button, which basically emulates a camera, like a standalone camera. So you just kind of press it, and then it will lock focus and exposure. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it. I mean, even as somebody who wasn't a big, me, I'm not a big traditional camera user. Mm-hmm. The fact that that feature wasn't out to begin with, I thought it was a miss. I was like, that should have been the number one thing, that half press to lock the focus. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I could see Apple iterating on it even more so, where it kind of like, because I remember like Sony cameras would like lock onto the face, if it looked square over the face, I would move around. So I think they could kind of go crazy with it, especially with video, as the iOS kind of matures a little bit more. Yeah,
that's a great feature. It's something that I think is a really nice thing to have with, like, especially if you shoot photos with a normal camera. It's going to feel like natural. So that is a huge upgrade. You can also, so regarding the Photos app, you can now toggle off the looping. So in iOS 18, when you play a video in the Photos app, it would just loop that video nonstop. Sort of like you get on like TikTok or whatever. Kind of
They want to
emulates
keep you
that.
in there.
Yeah. So it doesn't like switch to the next video, but it just will continue looping, which is nice for me because there's oftentimes you'll have like these short 3-second videos and you watch it once and it just stops and it's just like, I want to just see it again. Like, let's keep it
Yeah,
going. So
for sure.
that's really nice, but you can turn that off now if you don't like it. So
Okay.
it's nice to have. Also, so Apple did some weird things with Photos in 18 where if you view the videos in Photos in full screen, it would basically make it so you could not see contextually where you were as far as the preview icons for the next photos to the left or to the right of that video. Well, now they fixed that. So now when you have the video, you're looking at it in full screen view, you can still view your thumbnail previews of the other stuff around it, which is nice. Then you also have the ability to scrub through videos frame by frame, which is nice. So that's good if you're editing or you're just looking.
Great for screenshots too, I've noticed.
That's true. That is true. Didn't think about that. Yeah. So yeah, that's photo. There's other stuff. Check out our videos. We have more voice memos, layering, find my shared items, new podcast updates, all that stuff.
Again, real quick to go to the fragmentation. It made like iPadOS didn't get the voice memos update. iPadOS
That's bonkers.
Didn't get the mail update, which blows my mind. I don't know why.
Voice memos didn't come to iPadOS? I didn't even realize that.
I was going to make, in the middle of making the iPadOS video, I went to go do it. And as I was doing it, I was like, wait, there's no option to add a second layer. And I was like, what is going on? And then I looked it up. They didn't bring it to iPadOS. Probably saving it for 19, you know?
Yeah, or just a dot update like 18.3 or I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah. Because, you would think that they would put it on the iPad because, I don't know, people use iPads as like home studios, you know? Home recording studios.
Yeah, like that just seems like a natural thing.
Yeah.
With that being said, there is a natural language search in Apple Music, which I thought was nice. Just a little extra there. One last thing: persistent slider for the lock screen now, so you can get your volume slider back to lock screen, so you have that persistently. That's an accessibility option, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
just kidding.
I was like, here we go. But that is that's iOS, iPadOS, and then are you working on macOS 15.2?
Am I using it? Yeah. I'm as far as video, no, but I am using it right now, and I mean it's pretty much
the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Again, for me, it's been the writing tools. The writing tools in the Notes application, it's nice.
So you're using that on the Mac too?
Yeah, I'm using it on the Mac too. Right now, since I got the Mac Mini, my Mac Mini has kind of been my
main computer.
I'm not going to say main computer. It's been my computer. And then my iPad is what I do all my editing on. So I do the reverse of what most people would do.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's the current situation of my setup. But like I said, I'm going to Florida for about 8 days. I'm only bringing the iPad. I'm not bringing the Mac Mini.
You're not bringing the Mac Mini. Wow.
Huh. Even though I could, because we do have a cool video on how to set it up on the go.
Yeah. Well, so that is 18.2. Let's talk about Lifehack iOS features, because that's something you did, a video you did recently. What is up with that? What do you mean, first of all?
So it kind of goes back to that idea of just using the features like in your day-to-day life, right? Like kind of going back to like that visual intelligence situation where I just pulled it up. I knew that it would work, and it kind of made my moment easier in that situation, right? And it kind of the idea spurred from the video that I did a couple weeks ago with those magic Apple ecosystem moments of things that are just working as they should, and it makes my life a little bit easier. So I wanted to bring that, but outside of like the tech world and into just the everyday world, right? So like having the currency converter in your calculator now with iOS 18, just like built in. You don't need the internet for it. It auto updates. So if you don't have data and you're traveling, you'll know like, hey, I can convert like these euros to dollars and vice versa. And then being able to use things like the voice memo app on your Apple Watch that then syncs to your voice memos app on your iPhone whenever you have an idea or something to write down. So that was the premise of the video. Just use that tech around you to make your life a little easier from a life hack perspective.
That is a really cool video. I like one of the things, pausing video recording. That's awesome. Guided access, that's also a feature I don't think a lot of
Big
people
time.
know about.
Yeah.
Background sounds, a feature I don't think a lot of people know about.
Even
Those are,
going back to the Photos app because we were talking about it. I mean, there's a lot of things. People feel a little bit iffy about the Photos app redesign and the UI and things like that, but they added a bunch of new utilities in the utilities folder, like categories.
yeah,
That's big
super
time.
handy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
QR codes, receipts, like text stuff. There's a bunch of different things in the utilities folders app. So if you do take a picture of a receipt, of course it's going to show up in your recent or in your albums, but it's always going to show up in the receipts utilities tab. So that was another little life hack thing that people should take advantage of.
Yeah, the Level app.
Yeah, the measure.
Did you talk about Translate?
I did
Translator?
not talk about
Oh,
Translate.
okay.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
I
that's
think
a good one.
last year I made a whole video on the Translate app. You should definitely update that one. Translate
Yeah.
could be a good one.
Yeah,
But
I
even
mean,
the,
this
like
is solid. Yeah,
the text replacement stuff that's been around for years that people still don't know about. Instead of typing out your email or your address over and over and over again from scratch, you're able to do that. And then even updated stuff like the FaceTime screen share, which I know a lot of people will be doing, around this
yeah.
time
I
of year.
mean, that's all these features are super useful, and it's like stuff we take for granted as just hardcore iOS users, so to speak. But I mean, a lot of this stuff are features that I guarantee 75% to 80% of people have no idea even exist. Like
Yeah.
a lot of these features, I guarantee most people don't even think about or even have seen, especially like guided access or
I was going to mention
white
that.
point adjustments or stuff like
Yeah. No, especially for those parents out there. I've shown the guided access to a few parents because like they just want to give their phone to their kid, but they don't want their kid to like go into a random application and something like that. So just lock them in with guided access into the YouTube app, or lock them into the Bluey app. So
Yeah.
that definitely works nicely.
Spoken from a parent. Yes.
Trust me,
All right.
it's been in use.
You want to in your banking app, man, transferring funds,
Literally.
and zelling
Oh,
thousands
man.
of dollars.
Buying
Or
something,
whatever.
buying a Barbie on Amazon or something. Nah, not here. No, thank you.
So yeah, definitely check that out. We'll have it linked in the description for Fernando's video on that. It was awesome. And another thing, do you have something you want to say?
No, I kind of wanted to get into, like you mentioned that you got a new display. Because
Yes.
I think, last week you were talking about, what I
show it to
texted
you.
you earlier. Yeah, last week Jeff was telling me, we were talking about the studio display and the Pro Display XDR and how good they are, but yes, they're expensive. And then he mentioned something to me about a wobble, that most monitors have this wobble on your desk. Which has been, and now I can't unsee it with my monitor. And the studio display does not have that wobble because of the build material. So now I want one. But it goes to show you that now there's a cool new one that he's got.
Yeah. So I agree. Like
Tell me about
the
it.
wobble thing is annoying. I think, I don't ever exaggerate. I never exaggerate, right?
Never.
Never. You've
been
never.
able to.
You never know me to do that. But like, the studio display is by far the best monitor I've ever used outside of the Pro Display XDR to eliminate that wobble. The wobble is super annoying, and it usually. The reason for the wobble is a lot of factors, but it's usually the stand quality, and then the fact that the build materials, like how it connects to the stand, is like not the greatest build materials. A lot of plastics being employed there, so you get wobble. But like I'm shaking my desk now, I'm simulating me typing. There's no wobble on the studio display.
None.
Now, if you go crazy, like if you're like,
Yeah.
you will see some wobble, right?
For sure.
Obviously, because you're wobbling the whole desk. So temper your expectations there. But in general, if you're just typing, you're not going to see any wobble. With this display, this ProArt display from Asus, it's a 5K display that recently came out. It's half the price of the studio display. So I'm in the process of reviewing this now. And I've been pretty impressed with it. I'm pretty impressed.
Awesome.
With the display quality, having a true
Yeah.
5K display, like
That's
a
a
true
big thing.
5K display,
Yeah.
218 PPI, same, display characteristics as far as real estate as the studio display. It's great. I think it's a solid option for
That's
sure.
crazy for half the price. Because
$800.
Yeah, 5K displays are 5K 5K displays under 1,000 or a dime a dozen. Like there isn't much out there, especially a good quality one.
Yeah, and to have a true 5K display. It's not a 5K, 2K, or any of that. This is a real, like, 5120 by 2880, 218 PPI display. Nice. It is a matte display, which some people may like that. Some people may not like that. I personally wouldn't have I wouldn't have selected a matte display as my first pick. But in the favor of this, and I'll talk about this in the review, like, this is $800. You're getting a 5K resolution, and you're getting a stand that, while granted, it's not the best stand in the world. It does have a little wobble, but it does everything. It tilts. It has height adjustment. Nice. It rotates, so you can have what they call Tate mode. Nice. It tilts backwards, forwards. It rotates side to side. It goes up and down. Like, it does all those things where you would have to pay for the special stand, the height adjustable stand for the studio display, right? So we're talking, how much is that? How much is the height adjustable add-on?
I think at least $200, right?
Yeah, let's go to apple.com.
I think that gets you to $2,000 maybe if you do
easily.
That.
And then add in the nano texture, because because you're getting, so might as well just make it 1-to-1. Granted, quality wise, it's not the same build quality, obviously.
I definitely think you're paying for the quality, but you're also just paying for the Apple logo. Let's be real.
Well, there's no Apple logo. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. There's a big Asus logo at the bottom of this chin, which it drives me crazy. So, yeah, you're paying for the beauty, the like simplicity of the display, and so it starts at $1,600, nano texture glass with a tilt and height adjustable, $2,300.
And how old is it? The studio display?
2.5 years, I think.
Yeah. So it's almost a third of the price if you really think about it.
So it's $1,500 more, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. It's wow. So if you're looking for a perfect Mac Mini companion monitor, this is probably going to be the one I would recommend. Just if price is obviously a factor, this is what I recommend. There are some downsides. It doesn't have a built-in camera, and the text quality isn't up to the level of a studio display. Just one reason is because it's that matte display. Okay. And you know what that does to text.
Yeah, it kind of like breaks it up a little bit, makes it look, I'm not going to say, I guess fuzzy if you really...
It diffuses it. It diffuses the text, and it just doesn't look as crisp. And for sure. But you are getting the exact, like...
display tech.
Constraints. Like, right, you're getting a true 5K display, and you're getting, it's not scaling in a weird way. Like, it looks good. It looks really good, actually. I was kind of shocked at how good the picture was. Like, nice. I was taken aback. It's the best looking. Yeah, it's the best looking third party display from a visual standpoint and a real estate standpoint that I've seen.
Is it 27 or 32?
Good question, man. You hit me all the. I think it's 27. I think it's 27. Yeah, because it's the same size as the. I actually put it next to the studio display last night, side by side. And it's the same size. Yeah, but I'm impressed. So check out the review. We'll have a link down below in the description where you can buy it if you want to. But I'll have the review posted this week, and hopefully today or tomorrow. And you know how I am with dates, so we'll probably be in 2027. I'll have this one posted.
We won't let it get to next year. Don't worry.
Okay, good. All right, but yeah, check that out. It's good. It's solid. Like, think about that. You can go all in with a 5K display and a Mac Mini for what? $500 for the Mac Mini, $800, $1,300 for a full on. Like, maybe I'll do like a compute the new iMac. Like this is the new iMac, right?
Like a high spec budget kind of video situation.
Yeah, like somehow like maybe I can open this thing up and put the Mac Mini inside of it. I don't know. We'll see.
You sound crazy.
I sound nice.
That would be really cool to watch. I would watch that, obviously. Well, no, I'm excited for the review, so definitely check that out. I'll be linked, like we said, down below. And then you have written down here, which I haven't read yet, which I probably should get on the website and read. Is there finally a Magic Mouse redesign coming?
Okay. So first of all, yes, there is an Apple Magic Mouse redesign replacement with a fixed charging port placement that's in the works, according to Mark Gurman, former 9to5 Mac, now at Bloomberg. So Apple did just update the Magic Mouse, technically, right? They just put a USB-C port.
Yeah.
They just put a USB-C port on the bottom of it. But this new update is going to be completely different. And although we don't know anything, we don't know a ton of details, Bloomberg says that Apple's looking to create something that's more relevant while also fixing the long-standing complaints. So the biggest obvious complaint is the power or the charging port location. The second biggest complaint is the ergonomics.
Yeah.
Right. Personally, I think that's ridiculous because I'm a huge Magic Mouse fan. I don't see the whole thing about the ergonomics. I mean, I get it, but
there's mice out there for that. You know, like Apple's not trying to be a MX master. You know, there's a certain aesthetic that they have to play with, and in its own right, I haven't used a Magic Mouse in a while, but I mean, it hasn't really changed. But it's basically it's a mouse and trackpad in one, right? The way they
it's the most amazing peripheral in the history of human beings. I love this thing. I love this thing, man. I will
defend it.
I will defend the Magic Mouse. I'm telling you, it is the greatest peripheral invention, in my opinion. Outside of the original Macintosh mouse, and I know they got that from Xerox PARC, but
it's been so ahead of its time too.
So ahead of its time.
So ahead of its time, and there hasn't been another mouse to replicate that
at all. Why? No. Why is that? Because they don't have that integration software.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing that's why. But this right here, folks, this is the greatest mouse ever, and you can debate me all you want, but I will disagree with you. Like the MX Master, I get it. It is more comfortable. And maybe in 10 years or now when my fingers look like this, I'll be like, okay, you're right. But right now,
in the moment,
this is such a good mouse. I'm telling you, because it has the gesture support on there. And there's just no other mouse that replicates that. Yes, the MX Master has gestures, but it's that weird thing where you have to press down the button and then drag the mouse, which you're not getting. Yeah, you're not getting actual gestures on here. So with the MX Master, the way it works, there's a button on the side of it, the little thing where your thumb is. You press that button and then you drag to make your gestures.
Oh.
So it's not. It's almost like a trackball.
Yeah.
In the way that works, whereas this is there's a trackpad on top of this thing.
Yep. And not only it does the gestures, but it also deals with like inertia. Like the harder you flick, the faster it goes, and like you can scroll through it. And again, I had the Magic Mouse 2017 maybe, and it was doing all of that. You know what I mean?
It hasn't really changed.
Insane. It hasn't, and it's
you had the Magic Mouse when it had batteries in it, right?
Yeah, when it had batteries. That's hilarious. It doesn't. I guess it doesn't need batteries anymore. So I mean, yeah, but again, even though putting the charging port on the bottom is kind of annoying, but how often do you charge your mouse? I've had this Logitech mouse for 6 years, and I've charged it like twice or 3 times. You know, and
it's a really silly argument for the sake so you would rather to have a less sleek looking design because you want the port to be here because you charge once every 2-3 months.
Yeah,
I will say though, when those times come up where you see that little notification your Magic Mouse is about to die, it is frustrating. I can't lie because you have to stop.
Yeah.
You do have to stop working. You can't just plug it in. So I get it. It is frustrating those times where it does happen because with the Magic Trackpad, you don't have that issue, right? But the trackpad actually has the charging port.
Yeah.
In the right spot. So I get it. I get the argument. I get the frustration, but I don't think it's a massive deal to where it's like.
I get the memes. I get, like you said.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's funny to make fun of, but in reality, it is the best mouse for Mac users, in my opinion.
Hands down.
Hands down.
So there are a couple of ways I would like to see this improved. I think they could do something ergonomically to where it is a little bit, at least it has some more like where it's giving you a little bit more support. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit more height. I think they can improve the gesture support on it. I think that they could use the thumb area right here to do something like, cause this is like why can't this be a scroll? Right.
Yeah.
So I think they could have wireless charging on this thing. So you just have a little thing, you just put it on your wireless charger.
Yeah. Put a MagSafe charger in there. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think all those things. And finally, this should come across all their Magic devices, have multi-device support. Why is that still not a thing?
Yeah.
Like,
they could easily do that. If you have mice that are $20, they can connect to 3 different devices on Amazon. They can do that, especially if you're a iPad Mac user like I am. I guess in their argument, because it's like the ecosystem and you can use one peripheral for multiple devices because you can with universal control and things like that. But I don't know, just let it connect.
yeah, that's so easy. Like, why are we still talking about this now? Like, it's just ridiculous. But I will say this is my favorite mouse of all time, and I'm happy that they're actually updating it. I am, but I think the update should be focused on just making it a better mouse and not just fixing these silly complaints that people have.
No, I agree. Side note, can you hear my dog barking?
Yeah, and add some character to the show. Let's go ahead.
I think
cool.
The mailman rang the doorbell or something. So
yeah, it's all good. It's real life, people. It's real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
If you guys have Shibas, you know what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'll probably pick one up because, again, like I said, I've had this Logitech mouse I've had for 6-7 years. So shout out. I mean, Logitech still makes great mice, and for the right person, it makes sense. The MX Master, depending on what you want out of your mouse, there's room for everybody.
That's no shade to MX Master, by the way. It's a great mouse. I don't think I used it for a while, but I just saying that the Magic Mouse is also great. It's definitely so. MX Master is a solid mouse. Logitech makes some great peripherals. Yeah, no problem there. So why are you using that Logitech mouse, by the way?
I mean, again, I picked it up back in 2017 maybe, and I just have had no need to upgrade. It works perfectly. The scroll wheel's good. It's got some good heft to it. The only thing was that it has a micro USB port to charge, but I found one of those little magnetic tips, so I just leave it permanently plugged in, and I have just like a magnetic charger to charge it. Mm-hmm. I've had zero issues with it, and that's why. If it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of situation with it.
Seeing that magnetic tip gives me nightmares, man.
I know.
Not use that with your Mac.
Exactly. The only reason why it's on here is because finding a micro USB cable.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Is almost impossible now. Yeah. So that's why that's there. And then I have I have the other end just sitting right here.
Yeah.
So
I fried my Logic board on my MacBook with using that.
I remember back in the day when this is pre-wireless charging on iPhones. I remember I put a lightning one in my iPhone 5 or something, and it almost shut it down after a while, and it got so hot. So yeah, be very careful with those. Put it on stuff that you can replace a little easier than something like a laptop.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the mouse situation. So hopefully Apple does do something next year with the Magic Mouse, aside from just changing the port.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Well, so here's our final thing that we're going to talk about today, I think, unless you have more.
No, let's do it.
So 2 things, 2 products of the year. One a software product, one a hardware product. You can't have runner-ups. It has to just be what it is. Stand on all 10 toes.
Okay.
And back up your decision. But what is your hardware product of 2024? It had to be released in this year. So go.
I'm going to go with hardware first, like you said. And this is a personal choice. I'm going with the M4 13-inch iPad Pro. That's my product of the year from Apple. It wasn't game-changing by any means in terms of compared to the previous version. There might be some more revolutionary ones out there. But for me, it was an amazing upgrade. I went from the M1 to the M4. The design change was cool enough for me from a slimness standpoint, from a portability standpoint to justify that decision. I also went with 1 terabyte, so I got 16 gigs of RAM in this one. I love the new Magic Keyboard that came with it. Even though it was a subtle upgrade, it was still a quality of life upgrade nonetheless. And then I know these are kind of 3 different products, but the Apple Pencil Pro alongside the Magic Keyboard and the iPad Pro, all great quality of life upgrades, which you don't need, but they were amazing to have.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
No
M4 iPad
qualms
Pro.
with that at all. What about your software product?
No. You go hardware first, and then
I
I'll
was
go
hoping
software.
Okay. So my hardware product
Yeah, looks around office.
is the Mac Mini, because
The Mac Mini.
yeah,
Amazing
I
choice.
don't think there's just seems like kind of a cop out, like the obvious thing, but
I thought you were
I'm
gonna
looking
say
around.
Vision Pro.
I'm thinking about what came out. Vision Pro is great. It's a toy. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is a toy. A very good toy,
Yeah,
but
Very
to
fun
me,
toy.
it's just a very, very good toy, especially with 2.2. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
solid. It's a good product. If you were to say it was the most impressive product, it would be Vision Pro, hands down.
Yeah,
But the best product of 2024, in my eyes, is the M4 Mac Mini base model.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the value you get out of that, what you can do with it, it's just crazy to me. Like, it's crazy in the form factor and the actual. Like, I have been like literally just doing everything
Mm-hmm.
on this M4 Mac Mini,
No
a
issues.
$500, $600 system. And I haven't even really thought about the fact that I'm doing it on a base model. Like, it hasn't even really come into my mind. I don't feel the constraints, really, not at all. Like, I thought I would, but even when I have DaVinci Resolve open, I have Final Cut open, I have multiple tabs and windows open, every now and then I'll get like, I've had one out of memory error the entire time I've used this. And that's just because if you know the way I work, it's ridiculous. If you see my dock, it's crazy. It's this kind of stuff I'll have open at once. But this thing has performed like, I'm so impressed with it. And it's in the form factor, and it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. There's really no compromise here. Like, it's quiet on top of that. So it's like, yeah, they made it like this. They made it all small. They made it powerful, but it's really, really loud and super annoying. No, it's not. Like, I never hear it. And that's the beauty of it. As someone who's really sensitive to noise, this is an amazing product. Like, it really
Agree.
speaks to the design prowess of Apple, and not only their chip design teams, but just their material design. All those things is a super impressive piece of hardware. And for the price, there's no other product out there that Apple offers that offers the amount of value that this device offers.
I 100% agree.
There's no question.
No, I mean, I'm amazed at the M4 Mac Mini. Literally right now, I'm looking at it right now. Every single port is being used besides the audio jack. And it's silent. It's chilling. I got 2 monitors up, camera, speaker, microphone, SSD, and it's a baseline version, like you said. No issues.
Yeah,
Very
like
impressed by it.
Yeah, I'm going to finish my, because I did a review and I ended up scrapping it. You know me, because it was just like, I'm too late. Like, it's pointless to me to put this out, but I am going to put out a video on this, showing my desktop setup, probably include the Asus in there too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is just such a versatile machine. Like, it could be used for so many things in so many different areas and so many different locations. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't want to go over the top and make it seem like this is just the best thing ever of all time.
Yeah.
It's not that, but it is.
It's the value play. That's what's
Yeah.
the best thing ever. The value that you get out of this thing. I think that's what it is. That's what's wowing everybody.
Apple's
still-
never shipped another piece of hardware that provides this much value per dollar than this right here.
Yeah.
And you can get it for $500, even without using the Apple
student, yeah.
discount. Like, you can get that off
Amazon
Amazon.
always has them on sale.
Yeah,
At a minimum $50 off, sometimes $100 off.
Yeah,
which
it's
is mind
just
blowing.
it's insane. It's an insane value. So I think this is sort of the culmination of everything in the last few years. This is it right here, the Mac Mini M4 base model. Like, I don't even know if I could recommend the higher model, honestly. Like,
Me either, because then you start to not lose the value, but the value is less eye opening. You know, in terms of that price point, because then you get when you go to the Pro model, you're spending over $1,000, right? The M4 Pro. And then you can start to make comparisons elsewhere, but like there is nothing else at $500 that can do what this machine does. So that's where it is. That's the wow.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Product
I
of
like
the
your
year 2024, hands down.
Yeah.
But that iPad is definitely a reasonable pick too, especially if you're someone who's iPad first like you are. That's a solid upgrade, huge upgrade over the M1. Actually,
Even the tandem OLED display, like I still think the iPad has the best display of like anything.
Oh yeah. All right. So here's the cool thing. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep this short, but with DaVinci Resolve, and because I've been using that recently, kind of exploring with that. There's a lot of things I like about DaVinci Resolve, like that are a quality of life features that we've been missing on Final Cut. A couple of them. Number one, if you add a marker, you can use that marker and export that as a timestamp, and it will actually include that as a timestamp within the YouTube video. Like when you upload it, it's automatically there. First of all, the fact that it has integrated uploads to YouTube, which Final Cut used to have, but no longer has, for whatever reason, it has that. And then to be able to have the markers, you can set up your timestamps as you're editing your video. So it includes those right in the description for you when you upload. Yeah, it's super nice. That's just one of the things. Like DaVinci has some really, really cool features. It's kind of clunky, but that's because they're trying to do basically everything.
Okay.
They're trying to do everything.
You're saying on the iPad or on your Mac?
I think it works on iPad too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
DaVinci's on the iPad too, but I wonder if it's a 1-to-1 or if
it's very, very close to 1-to-1. Very, very close to 1-to-1.
Okay.
DaVinci is way more similar to the desktop version than Final Cut is to its desktop version. Way more. Okay. Like it's almost, I think almost every feature is going to be there with DaVinci. Granted, some of those features are kind of hidden. You kind of have to make shortcuts to find them. But I don't think Fairlight works, which is like their audio editing sort of engine.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I kind of worked with LumaFusion for a second.
Yeah, but it's impressive. And so I have this thing where I'll talk about it later. I'm not going to go. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. What was my point of this whole thing? Oh, the tandem OLED. So DaVinci has a feature. DaVinci has a feature where you can wirelessly have your video output to your iPad. And it is like instant. It's like there's no lag. There's no perceivable lag at all. Like it's crazy to me. I'm like, well, how's this working? But the cool thing is you get your HDR image on there.
Yeah.
So you can actually preview what it looks like in full HDR on your iPad, which is wild to me.
So as you're editing, you're basically seeing what it looks like, or as you're recording, or both?
As you're editing.
As you're editing.
Like you can be scrubbing the timeline. You're looking at the thing move in sync with, and it's wireless, and there's no lag.
That's cool. That's a big one.
Yeah.
It's for reference on that display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Blackmagic has always been known for being at the forefront of innovation, and like they're sort of like a kitchen sink company where they just literally throw everything at the kitchen sink and see what works. But that has its downsides too, because then you get a lot of it's kind of hard to learn. Yeah. It's kind of confusing. Like there's so many options.
If I were to jump in there right away, it would take a little while. It would take me a second.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's complex compared to Final Cut, but there's a lot of good things in that, and I actually am thinking about switching to that because of the Final Cut, because of DaVinci on the iPad, and because of this workflow. So I have it where you shoot a video, it automatically appears in your project in DaVinci, like it's just there. It's just there,
which is nice, and
it's instant because it uses proxies, and then it uploads those proxies immediately, and then in the background,
it'll upload the actual data. So
you can just start editing almost instantly. As soon as you're shooting, your stuff's just there, just ready to start editing.
So is that your software of the year?
Oh, no. Did you already share your software of the year?
I haven't, no.
Oh, okay. I need to get off this rant. Let me get off this soapbox real quick, because hopefully that's people find that they like to hear this rant. Because if they don't, man, we're gonna lose a lot of listeners.
The excitement's what's gonna draw people in. You sound genuinely excited about it, you know.
All right. So, what is your software of the year?
I mean, probably in that same light. It's a combination of, because we've been talking. I was playing with Final Cut for what's it called, for the iPad, and one feature of Final Cut for the iPad, because I gave Final Cut for the iPad the old college try. You know, went full tilt on it for about 10 days, edited a few videos on there, all different kinds of it. Still a lot of things that need tweaking for it to be my main editor of choice. And then also LumaFusion's making awesome updates all the time. And like recently they had a great update as well, which makes me like it even more. But in that same light of, as somebody who uses their iPhone and their iPad as basically their YouTube studio, right? iPhone as a camera, being able to use my iPad as a viewfinder and control every aspect of my iPhone camera has been an amazing addition to my workflow. It has been so cool and so nice to be able to do that. Being able to switch between HDR and SDR, being able to add like the grid and the leveler, and being able to go from being able to decide what microphone I'm using versus guessing what microphone I'm using or using the onboard mic. So it just made my life a little easier. Now there is that same kind of the same proxy idea where you can instantly start editing in Final Cut Pro, but I still end up offloading that footage and editing it in LumaFusion, because LumaFusion right now is just a much better editor. But that one feature, I don't know if it's I guess that's my feature of the year, right?
Okay.
Like being
I think
able
that's
to do
fair.
that.
With software, it's a little different. You can't. I mean, software could be released years ago, but because
Exactly.
it's updated, right? So I think with software, you got to be a little more lenient on that sort of thing. But I agree, that is an amazing feature to be able to, even if you're not using the full Final Cut workflow, just to have that feature and then take the parts of it that work for you is amazing, right?
Like I'm happily paying $5 a month just for that one feature.
I agree. Yeah.
So Luma, take notes. I'll pay you guys
So-
instead if you want.
So here I'm going to one up you, because as great as Final Cut camera is, and I agree, it's pretty amazing. My app of the year, my software of the year is Blackmagic Cam.
Okay.
For a lot of the same reasons. But not only is it an amazing camera with pretty much every option a video editor, video shooter would want, you can shoot all different types of flavors of ProRes. So you're not just limited to, I think Apple's is ProRes 422. I don't know if they're using HQ, but I know it's not like LT or proxy. So those files get really big really quickly. But you can also, I think Apple just released HEVC support too. So that's not as big of a deal. But the ability to shoot different flavors of ProRes in Blackmagic Camera, but not just that. The amount of options you get with Blackmagic Camera just far surpasses Final Cut. But not just that. The ability to integrate with Blackmagic Cloud is really what makes this thing impressive. And just like Final Cut, you have multicam options too. So you can can control multiple cameras. But not just that. You have the ability to basically output over HDMI from your Blackmagic camera to an external monitor, and then format the look of that to make sure it's a clean output. So, and you're able to see like stats from your camera as you're shooting, because when you're shooting video with an iPhone, you're not always like this in front of the phone, right?
No.
Because sometimes depending on the angles of what you're shooting, you can't always be looking at the screen. So you do need an external display in order to see what you're shooting. Well, this works perfectly with external displays. And there's so many options to configure how it outputs, what it outputs to the external display. But not just that. The stabilization on this thing is world class. And there's multiple levels of stabilization that you can pick here. But not just that.
Ooh.
You also, like I said, the integration with Blackmagic Cloud. You're shooting a video here, right? I stop the video. There it is. There it is on my desktop in DaVinci Resolve. That video's ready to be used in proxy mode right now. So I could I'm shooting. So imagine you have a top-down setup, which I do.
Yeah.
I have a monitor so I can view what it's shooting, right?
Yeah.
That's facing me. I have the monitor formatted so I'm showing things like the audio waveform. I'm seeing the shutter speed, the lens I'm
Yeah.
using, all of that. And I'm recording. And as soon as I hit stop recording, actually before I even hit stop recording, I'm seeing my file in DaVinci Resolve right there. Like it's there,
That's crazy.
ready to go, and I'm ready to edit. And if you connect via Ethernet, it's like that. It's
Yeah.
like that. That's super powerful. And you don't even have to use DaVinci Resolve if you don't want to. Like you can just make it so that the files appear in your Finder, and that's all you're using. Like you just have DaVinci in the background doing the proxy
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
I'm going to actually show this workflow off here in a video, but not just that. This also works with multiple users. So I could give you access to edit my video and go in and view all the assets for my video in real time. And you could do so. We could be working on the same project.
Interesting. So I wonder, did Final Cut get a lot of their stuff from Blackmagic then? Because to an extent, you can share. You can have other people start and stop recording in Final Cut Camera. You can have somebody else have the Final Cut app with a different Apple ID, but control other people's iPhones. So it sounds like Blackmagic gets the full 100 yards, and Final Cut gets you like 70% of the way there. So maybe there was a lot of inspiration, for lack of a better term, taken.
Well, Blackmagic is, they make cameras. So
Yeah.
like they know how they not only just make cameras, they make actual video cameras. Like,
Yeah.
so
So
I was thinking of, yeah. I don't know. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, that was pretty much it, that there's a lot of similarities, and it seems like Final Cut, for lack of a better term, is the the dumbed down version of Blackmagic.
I wouldn't even say that. I think it's just another option. It's really good. I think Final Cut is. Remember, I called you last week.
Yeah.
I was so excited about this thing. Like I was like, you probably thinking, what is this dude? He took. Yeah, never mind. He's hyped up right now. But I was really like blown away because I did not recognize how capable this stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
But now I get it, and it's just like I have to implement this into my workflow, even if it's like not the full thing.
Yeah.
Like there has to be some way that this is implemented. And that's what I decided with the top down camera is a good camera to start with because it doesn't require a lot of depth of field and all that a regular camera that you might want from a regular camera.
Sure.
So yeah, but I do think this is definitely the future. And if I was Sony, if I was Canon, I would be very worried. And I think Sony, we're seeing that because Sony started to implement a lot of stuff we've seen in smartphones recently in their updates. I think they're like, oh, this is no longer a joke.
Yeah.
This is
these
no
cameras
longer
are the
like
real
just
deal.
this is no longer just a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can shoot on my no. These things can actually replace your actual cameras for real today.
Like, what was that movie that just got announced 28 years later? Shot fully on iPhone?
I haven't heard about it, but
Yeah, I think we wrote about it, but it's just a full-on fledged like movie that's in theaters. Yes, of course they have like tens of thousands of dollar gimbals that are attached to it, but at the end of the day, the lens on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and 16 Pro is what's filming these like multi-million-dollar movies.
Yeah, and so here's the thing with that, and I wonder if they're using a depth of field adapter. They probably are, like one of those things that allow you to attach a full camera lens
Okay.
to your phone, but it's still using the phone. Like that's still the brains. That's the brain of the camera. But that is my only complaint with iPhone photography right now is the fact that we just don't have the
true depth of field. Like, I hate
the
relying
aperture
on
options.
like portrait mode and stuff like that and cinematic mode.
Yeah,
It's just not there. It's not there.
But there are like Beast Cam. I think that's their name of it. Beast Grip, Beast Cam. One of those companies does have a depth of field adapter. Granted, there's a lot of constraints, and I think going into this, you have to know what your constraints are and how to work within those constraints. And if you do know how to work within those constraints, you can pull off some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
100% agreed.
that's enough of me talking for today.
I mean, that's the hardware software of the year. I think, that we got, Apple related, which is cool. And I mean, it's been an awesome year. Like you said, Vision Pro came out, M4 Mac Mini, new iPads, sort of. I mean, new Macs, sort of. We got like new M4 MacBook Pros and stuff like that. Mostly kind of internal upgrades, but I still think a great year overall in everything that we've seen released, software and hardware wise. And I think going back to the value play of the M4 Mac Mini, it's all about accessibility and not being so cost prohibitive. And I think Apple's doing a much better job of that, getting their products into the hands of more people and not just kind of pricing people out as kind of they used to. You would, if you were walking into an Apple store, you got to be ready to drop $1,000 no matter what. It's not the case anymore.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, that's nice. The good choices though for the products of the year. So look forward to seeing what this year will bring, and we'll probably have another episode for the end of the year, but we will see you in the next one for sure.
For sure. Peace, everybody. Leave some comments down below of your favorite stuff of the year. Curious.
For sure. See y'all.
Peace.